Alright, so today I'm going to be tying the pink squirrel. This is a fly that has gotten quite a bit of hype in the reports and forums for mainly the Driftless area of southeastern Minnesota, which extends into Wisconsin. I've seen it when I've been looking up reports on the Rush River, which I fished a couple times, and had a fair amount of success with it. So I decided I would tie it for you guys. I'm gonna tie my own version with just basically just some variations in the color of the bead and the dubbing and the wire. Basically the same fly, so I'm not gonna take any credit for it. Just a color variation. But this right here is the original, or as close to the original as I think I can get by looking at the different forums and whatnot. Basically has a crystal flash tail, usually has a squirrel dubbed body, red small ribbing wire for ribbing, and then this kind of pastel pink dubbed thorax, and then a gold bead to finish it off. So this is this is the version I think is about as true to the original as I can find through research. So just decided I'd show you that before I got started on my own color variation. And by the way, that pastel, that's just a scud dub pink that I use to tie what I feel is close to the original. It's just a real pastel pink color hairline dubbing product. Alright, so I've already put the bead head on the hook here. The hook that I'm going to be using is just this Teamco 2487 size 10. That's just a caddis pupa, a merger hook, and then the bead head that I'm going to be using is just this Spirit River 1/8 inch black nickel bead head. And then the thread is this UTC 140 in the white. So go ahead and just get your thread started and clip off. And then you're going to want to go ahead, and before you go any further, just take one strand of crystal flash. Comes packaged as such. Just fold that in half, clip it once, fold it in half again, clip it again. Then you can go ahead and just catch it in where you've tied off or stopped your thread wraps, and then just hold it on top of the thread, or sorry, hold this crystal flash in your fingers and kind of wrap at the same time with your thread, and that'll allow you to keep this crystal flash on the hook on the top of the hook shank, and then just wrap down to about halfway around the bend of the hook. Alright, and that's good enough. So we'll just wrap back up. Then when you get to here, you can go ahead and then just cinch down the rest of the crystal flash. Now you're going to want to trim this tail to about half the length of the hook shank here. Right. So now you can go ahead. This is just a small size copper wire by UTC. So I'm going to go ahead and just bury the tip of this in the bead head. Start my wraps. I'm just going to try to keep this wire on top of the hook shank as I wrap back to that halfway point of the hook bend. Alright, that's when I'm going to start my dubbing, and then this is just a hairline dubbing hare's ear. And when I buy a hare's ear, I'm using this in place of the squirrel, by the way. You know, you can get fox squirrel or other Squirrel dubbings, but anything in like a light natural color, kind of like a light grayish tan will work. Just make sure it has a lot of guard hairs in it. The guard hairs, when I talk about that, they're nice coarse hairs, so you get the real fine fibers, and then as well as those, you'll also get the real coarse kind of pointy looking fibers. You're gonna want a fair mix of those in your dubbing. They just really help create a leggy appearance when you're making nymph bodies, abdomens, and thoraxes and whatnot. So just something to look for when you're picking out dubbings for some nymph patterns and whatnot. Not all dubbings, like dry fly dubbing, you know, you want just a real fine dubbing all around, but for these nymphs or scuds, if you're going for a natural, make sure it has those guard hairs mixed in. See how much I can put on here without hitting my camera as I come around. And then you just want to work up a decent carrot-shaped body, and you want that to be, oh, I don't know, a little bit more than 2/3 of the body length here that you've got going. Alright, that might be enough for me here. Alright, I think that's good enough. Okay, so I'm just going to wrap my wire forward, and on flies like this, where it's got a real long body, I like to kind of start these ribbing wraps closer together, and then you can kind of go ahead and just start getting farther spaced apart as you go up the fly. So if you ever notice with a lot of your aquatic insects, they don't have the same size segments going all the way up. They start smaller in the back and get bigger towards the front. And so now I just like to take my thread, put a 90-degree bend in the wire, and then come around, do a few wraps, hold down, put some pressure down with your thread, and go ahead and wiggle this wire back and forth, and eventually it'll break off. It gives you a nice clean break. So go ahead and just clean that up a little bit. Now you're ready to start dubbing your thorax. And you know, if some of these fibers are bugging you, if they seem too long, you can kind of come in there and pick some out, or cut them if you want. But you know, like I said, with those guard hairs, leave some of them. They should be in there. They really kind of add to the fly. So now this is just that scud dub in a hot pink color. So this one's just a little extra flash in the water, quite a bit more dramatic, I guess you could say. So just get that on your thread, and what you're going to basically want to do is just dub a little bit of a ball for a thorax. If it starts loosening up on you, just wrap it back on. But you want to make sure this is fairly tight. With this scud dub, it has a tendency to, once you fish it for a while, it kind of starts sweeping back, and I'll show you an example of that on a fly that I'll show you a different color variation that I've done. that's pretty similar, just a different colored dubbing. But you'll be able to see kind of what it looks like after you've fished it for a bit. Alright, and then just do a couple wraps here in between the bead and the dubbing. You're ready to whip finish. Just go ahead and put 3 or 4 whip finishes on there. And actually, what I like to do here when I'm whip finishing in between a ball of dubbing and a bead head, where it's kind of buried down in there, is I like to take and get a little bead of my head cement on and apply it directly to the thread first. And just be patient with this waxed nylon thread. Eventually some of it will stick onto there. And then you can go ahead and whip finish. The reason why I like to do this is because if you whip finish and then try to put on your head cement, a lot of times it'll soak right into this dubbing ball and it'll turn it all crusty and kind of loses the natural feel and the ability to kind of start some of these fibers to start coming out and flowing in the water. So just clip your thread, and that's my little variation of the pink squirrel. Still pretty true to the original, and you know, some of the originals that I've seen even actually do use copper thread, so I mean, it's probably actually pretty close to the original yet. So just some slight variations. I've seen this fly with and without a tail. Here's a version that caught me. This is one of the first few that I tied of these pink squirrel type flies. This one didn't have a tail. You can see I actually opened up this hook trying to get it out of a snag, but the second cast in, it caught me about a 13-inch, 14-inch brown trout. So this fly works. It's basically just kind of an attractor pattern, you know, and it does a pretty good job at it apparently, by judging by the forums and the reports. So you know, if the fish aren't biting on your natural patterns and you feel like you want to flash it up a bit, go ahead and throw one of these on and see how it works for you. Good luck.